Hello, my name is Mackenzie Papp, and I chose to study an area between and around Grant and 13th Street Avenue in Denver, Colorado, right by the Capitol building. I chose this area because it's a neighborhood that I don't live in and that I'm not too familiar with, beyond the fact that I do go there quite frequently to visit one of my favorite little joints called City O City. It's a vegetarian restaurant. I find that there is a huge lack of those in the area, but that's just my personal opinion. However, I do have to say, coming back to the city after quite a few weeks, it's been amazing to see the transformation from the area that I'm a little bit used to the area that's been affected by the Black Lives Matter movement. I made many observations while walking around downtown. I would place this area in a transitional state because it's placed right outside the city business center. It's a few blocks away from towering skyscrapers, and looking at this area from a micro level perspective, there are a lot of diverse buildings in the sense of age. Some of them are older houses that are crumbling and falling apart, while some right next door are a little newer and have clearly like a little more action going on. Within these less attractive areas, though, there was a major sharp contrast between the feeling of walking around in the city. It could be pleasant for one block and then all of a sudden turn into a bit more of a quiet and more depressing area just within a matter of steps. We came across tons of people here. There was plenty of people walking around outside, and while there were many on the streets, we observed that almost everyone wasn't interacting with other people. Now, this is a very interesting time to be in. We even stopped at the park right next to the Capitol and sat down for a minute. And there were people playing around the park, but still no one was really interacting with each other. In drawing a mental map of the neighborhood, the Capitol definitely stands out. The most greenery and art and interesting things to look at are near the blocks that are right next to the Capitol. The further you walk away from the Capitol, the more you find those rundown buildings and more tightly packed areas, and so on and so forth. We also noticed a lot of frustrations with traffic. The streets were always packed. The cars that were parked parallel in the street always took up the spots. If anybody left their spot, a car took it instantly. We also observed a lack of bicycle lanes. A major lack if there were bicyclists in the area. Most of them were either in the street in the traffic with the cars and getting honked at, or they were on the sidewalk walking right beside us and getting yelled at by pedestrians for being on the sidewalk. With that said, though, there were a healthy amount of sidewalks, there was walkability, there was public transportation. However, in the areas that were not next to shops and restaurants and so on and so forth, the sidewalks got a lot thinner, and we had to backtrack more to the shops and the Capitol area to come across those wide walkways again. The houses here are also tightly packed. Whether or not they're newer or more updated, all of them were pretty close together. Throughout the majority of the neighborhood, there was a lot of greenery. While we experienced the largest concentration of that in the park around the Capitol building, we saw that most of the streets were lined with shrubbery or flowers or trees, which made it feel comfortable and a lot more shady. It was very hot outside. Overall, we had a very pleasant experience. However, I have to comment, the biggest observation that I made that was most surprising to me was the contrast from how the city was before the Black Lives Matter movement to after. It was really inspiring to see people expressing their feelings and concerns. It brought a strong sense of community about in the neighborhood. So that about wraps up my walk in the park. Thank you so much for listening.